Continues. More than just the heads and members of the committee, the leader of the Senate majority now hinting at a purge that it will go beyond the two houses in as far as axing those who are against or opposed to the ideas of the president is concerned. Nonetheless, let's bring in our guest for this quick discussion. Daragwa Member of Parliament Jeremiah Kioni joins us live now. Mheshimiwa, if this was a Jubilee house cleaning, is the Jubilee Party house politically clean tonight?
Oh no, far from it.
Why far from it?
What we saw today is that it's just a starting, an indication of things to come. And the head of the party leader, and the president of this republic actually did indicate as much. And I think it is something that we need to look at objectively, in a sense that when you run for an office as the head of state, you learn and you promise Kenyans that I will do X, Y, Z if I am elected into office. And you are duty bound to deliver on your promises. Otherwise, people will term you as a person who failed to deliver on what they promised. And for you to deliver, you need a team. Our constitution has the three arms. We have the executive, the legislature of parliament, and the judiciary. But while we term the judiciary as independent, parliament is one of the institutions that will always help this president and future presidents in delivering what he promised.
And is this squarely on the idea of helping the president? There are those who say the action is fashioned as though they are rebels against the president.
No. One is that I have no grudge against any member. And I say this because I believe it is a thing that will happen now and should happen even in future, to me and any other person. When you choose not to draw the line, when you choose not to move together with the person you are in team together, or with the person whom you promised to deliver on several issues in the past or when you are campaigning, I think it is only fair that you leave and give room for either him to deliver alone or to deliver with others, or you say that that agenda is not what you ever believed in. Then the decent thing would be to resign. So even as people would want to badmouth this process, it is actually something that it's only that it has now been done in an organized manner. And I want to tell you, you will see this happening every other parliament going forward. But you're also likely to see some more mature way of disagreeing. You agree on a point of principle, and then you say we disagree on this one. You don't go out insulting anybody. You don't need to insult the president to a point where we get like we are in a shouting match. So this is something that we must embrace as a country. The culture of insults must be displaced to every person. Because if it's taken upon by the young people, this country will be the worst off. In many ways.
Mheshimiwa, if one disagrees with the party leader in a liberal democracy, one would assume there are things that can be sorted within the party. It doesn't necessarily have to transmit to axing and de-whipping members.
I agree totally. And there is room to disagree. In fact, the party constitution allows you to disagree. And it is actually naive for you to go there and be in a reasoning team. But you disagree within the party, argue your case out. As you leave out, you have to have agreed on where is it that you want, which direction do you want to take. Of course, we must say that we haven't had the number of meetings that we also should have as a party. And that is one of the weaknesses of the structure of the party, of the management of the party. We need to have more PG meetings. But even in the absence of PG meetings, the last thing that anybody should expect to happen is for you to take it upon yourself to insult the president.
All right, let's talk of the Jubilee house cleaning. We have seen the political house cleaning, at least in the Senate, the National Assembly. There are talks of parastatals as well. Where then, to the topmost, does this cleaning end?
Let me say this. One of the things that happened today is that we have a whip and a new deputy whip. And they have a heavy responsibility, and I'm sure they're already working on it tonight. Because that cleaning comes with some change of leadership in committee meeting, in the committee management of committee, the chairman and the vice chairman, likely even the membership of some committees. And when that is settled out, certainly then you'd want to find out why is it that you are unable, as the president, what is making it difficult for you to deliver on the promises that you made to Kenyans. And as the president said today, when you have elected a person to the office of the president, and he is the one holding the baton, you can't start struggling to snatch the baton from him.
And if someone is to question and ask, how are these members being a stumbling block to the president? I'm asking if someone is to ask, how are these members who have been de-whipped and axed from committees, from House positions, being a stumbling block to the president's idea?
Oh, no. You know, even in the public pronouncements, I think that's not something that we really need to persuade anybody. The public pronouncements are not right. And I'm telling you that perhaps there would have been more room to accommodate people. But I want to tell you that one of the things I personally disagree with is when you are being picked as a leader to take a microphone and you start insulting in the other leader in public. There are many young people who are going to take that issue upon themselves and to do likewise, insult their teachers, eventually insult their parents and insult the country. So one of the things we cannot agree on is don't insult. Don't go out there
and just to be fair, Mheshimiwa, just to be fair, we have seen more than one. Just to be fair, we have seen more than one instance where the party leadership, the topmost leadership of the party, has also publicly used faulty language in description of their opposition, haven't we?
And I'm saying that it is not good for a leader to go and insult the leader, and especially insulting the president in a public arena. You can be treated harshly by your boss and the rest. That's another game. But I am even then also, it's not something that we okay. I personally will not be happy to see the president also taking on the same route, doing the same. But he actually said today, he hates being unhappy. He has tried to talk to people for more than a year, and that has continued. But I think the most important thing, Abubakar, is that we are likely to see these changes in the House. And as others have said, I would want to say that the people who allowed you to serve, if they feel like you should not serve again, the other decent thing to do is just to leave. That's not the end of your political career. It could actually grow your political star tomorrow, and especially if you disagreed on a matter of principle. But if you disagreed because you belittled offices and insulted others, that is not likely to help you grow politically.
But Mheshimiwa, tonight, is it not the case? Is it not the case tonight that a section of the Jubilee Party members feel as though they are targeted because of their political stand or whom they support?
And the political, Abubakar, if you want to take another political stand, and especially on the leadership of the party or the country, you'd have to wait for that time to come. And it is not, in fact, I don't think it is a way of being targeted. You are actually being given room to grow or to push, allow your agenda, sell your agenda even better, because this time you have nobody limiting you. You can now do it more freely without being hindered by the office of the president or the management of parliament. So you are being released to do that other agenda item, that other exercise that you think has more traction than managing the agenda that was promised to Kenyans.
So in your own observation, there is no one being targeted in the ruling Jubilee Party. Is it so?
There is nobody being targeted. It is only dealing with the individuals who seem to have perhaps thought that the promises that were made by the president either are not useful or are not he is not keen on or they are not keen on them now. It is on the individuals who might have identified another leadership that they want to recognize now as opposed to the one that is in office.
Fair enough.
And that's not being targeted. Opinion, it is that you are being allowed to carry on with that. It will be different if you are being targeted because you come from this area you know there is a given description that can fit you in terms of perhaps the way you are brought, your height, your weight, or something like that. But if it is
you say there is
because
no
of the beliefs.
You say there is no one being targeted in the Jubilee House. If this was a political script, listen to some of the names that I'll read to you. Senator Murkomen, MP Washiali, Susan Kihika, among others who have been ousted, de-whipped from their position, who are in the limelight for being a pro-Ruto, at the heart of a Ruto 2022 campaign for this matter. This clearly shows there is one side that seemingly and visibly is receiving the heat, isn't it?
Could you also say that it is one side that has chosen to avoid recognizing that we have a president and a government of the day, a side that have decided to avoid the agendas or the agenda that was promised to the people of Kenya? I mean, it could also be the side that targeted the president.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to humiliate him.
And is it to the extremes of one?
Yes.
And is it to the extremes of one side belittling the president?
Yeah, that is clear, and I think it is useful for us as a country never to allow that to happen again. Not for this presidency, mm-hmm. but all presidencies to come, including the one for 2022, which could easily be even what they are pushing. And when that time comes, the person who will occupy the office, be it the deputy president himself, we will want to give him the respect that he deserves, mm-hmm. in the way that we want the president who is in office today respected and allowed space, because the loser will be the country. The loser will be the Kenyan who will have wasted 5 years of non-development, just politicking. And that is not a good thing for ordinary wananchi. They may not get to understand it that way, but as a leader, you occupy a higher position. You have a higher calling, and you need to live up to that higher calling. And you cannot just swing to the whims of mm-hmm. Ordinary Kenyans who may not see the bigger picture.
All right, let's move from the Jubilee House cleaning to the referendum bill 2020. A section of, yes.
Just before you move from that, know also that there was house cleaning that is already going on within ODM.
Yes.
And even the one for NASA is heavier. In my opinion, is deeper, because this afternoon there was a heavy debate in Parliament on how can they recall their member of Parliament whom they seconded to the PSC. Mm-hmm. And this is you remember PSC is a constitutional commission. And so you can actually see a cleaning of houses, not just within that party, but you see it it's there with NASA, ODM. I know it is also there within Wiper, a little bit quieter. But the leadership of any political party would want a party that is not necessarily whipped to sycophancy, but a party that is engaging on issues objectively, and in a logical manner, in a decent.
Which then begs the question: why the cleanups in all these parties? Why the cleanups in all these parties and coalitions as of now? Is it the politics of alignment and realignment ahead of 2022 elections?
I am not sure it is alignment or realignment or 20. What I want is realignment and alignment to deliver on the promises that were made to Kenyans, including what I was articulated today, and it came out during the Madaraka Day mm-hmm. Presidential speech, on the need to look at the governance structure of this country. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that's what leads that into the referendum bill.
Yes, you are quoted by a section of the media to have said this, and I quote, "If there has to be any referendum, then it must be held on the same date with the general election to save money and avoid too much politicking." Given that from the public, palpable and visible arguments by those who are fronting for a referendum is the creation of positions that are not in the current lineup, how then will it be possible not to have a referendum?
One is that I want to own up that statement. It yes. is true that I issued that statement, and that's not the first time. This is a statement that I've been issuing since 2017, after our elections in 2017. And my argument has been that one is that it is not a cheap thing to hold referendums. Mm-hmm. And two, we must allow ourselves as a country to deliver on development, not just deliver on politicking 24/7. Three is that there is a gap that can be misused by people. If we allow for referendums to be done in between the term of parliament or term of being in office, how many of them can we manage as a country? What would stop every other person who did not win an election seeking for a constitutional amendment through a referendum? That would put us into a spin of politicking throughout. And eventually, the lack of development or slow rate of development will catch up with the country, and people will become dissatisfied and perhaps even get into very violent situation like we are seeing in the US.
All right, but if at the heart of the political...
Allow me to say this so that you can get the point.
Okay.
We had Puguza Mzigo of our court. We now have this government coming up with the BBI. I am told our court has also gone back now with a new referendum or another document suggesting something. There was one that was coming out from the governors the other day. And I think there was even a group of NGOs that were also suggesting another referendum bill, a constitutional amendment bill. Now, look at those. Those are like 5 of them. How many can we manage in a country? But my thinking is that if then we say that we can only have one during the general election, that will manage the appetite for people desiring to amend our constitution and for people who desire to keep us politicking forever.
Let me interject you at that point. IEBC chairman says it will cost roughly 12.5 billion shillings to conduct a referendum, the cost aside. But if at the heart of the push for a referendum is to create more seats, expand the executive, have more national leaders, this surely will go through a referendum, isn't it?
Yes, that will have to go through a referendum. Of course, the proponents of that amendment will actually want to put a case that it needs to be done before 2022 elections so that those positions can be filled by that time. And of course, those who propose that to happen would want to hear the argument. But I want to agree with some section of leadership that believes that a very restrictive structure makes it life and death for those who are looking for political positions. And it's not in the interest, it's not useful for us to fight just because we denied you or there's only one position that can make people feel like they are part of the governance of this country. Remember, why is it necessary to have a constitution? Why is it necessary to have a government? It's so that there is peace. And if as a country we agree that the way to have peace is to have a structure of this nature, I think, and I know there will be time to convince one another.
All right.
We should not so viciously opposed to it. We need to listen to one another and win everybody, like Musalia said, with logic. Let us not force people, but let us win with logic. And I think it is not a bad idea, the proposals that are on the table.
All right, Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, Nderagwa Member of Parliament, thank you for making time for us tonight on TV 47.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, at that point, we are taking another